Overdrive Retro Mode. Kick back and relax while I blast you back in time and guide you down a pixelated, coin-operated, button-mashing memory lane paved with joysticks, consoles, and dusty old cartridges. Where good guys are always good guys, bad guys are always bad guys, and the fate of the universe lies in your hands. Time to kick it into overdrive. Retro Mode. Insert coin to play.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to Gamers Overdrive Retro Mode. I'm your host, Johnny Retro. If this is your first time on the channel, please like this video. Don't forget to subscribe. And please hit that little teeny bell notification thingy in the corner so that you can get updates on the newest episodes. Today is a special episode because today I'm reviewing an incredible machine that might just be my favorite retro games playing device of all time. It is called the Pandora Box DX Mini Arcade. This thing is truly incredible. I was given this by my wife as a late Father's Day present. Best present ever. Thank you so much. It's incredible. So what this is it has a built-in Pandora box. A Pandora box is a single board computer that has pre-installed games. So what we're talking about is very similar to the big dual stick unit that I have behind me. I've shown that in my first episode ever. It is really, really easy. It's an incredibly convenient option for retro gamers. Now, whenever people ask me, when they find out that I'm a big retro games enthusiast, the first question that they always ask me is, how do you play your games? And I always tell them, just play them on your phone. And while that's true, there is a significant learning curve when you want to play retro games on your phone. You have to set everything up yourself. It's a very manual, step-by-step process. A Pandora box eliminates that need. It's an all-in-one plug-and-play device, and it's super cool. It comes in a variety of options. You can get one that is just the board so that you can build your own arcade machine if you want. You can also get ones that come in a twin stick unit like I have behind me. Now, this brand new unit is a little tiny desktop, kind of a tabletop arcade machine. Listen to that click. Listen to the click of the micro switches. You hear that? That's just like music to my ears. This is incredible. So the Pandora box is built into this unit, and it's very, very light, and it's, I don't know if I'll show you a size comparison later, but this thing is mind-blowingly incredible. You need to have one of these units. If you are a fan of retro games, if you love classic arcade games, what are you waiting for? Please just go online. I'm going to put the link in the description below of this video, and you can find out where to buy this. I got this on AliExpress. I live in Istanbul, Turkey, and that was the easiest option for me, but Amazon also sells them, eBay sells them. And I'm going to talk to you about Pandora Box in this video, and particularly this unit, because this one is... it's incredible. It's so good. It has over 3,000 games built in, and before I show you some actual gameplay on this thing, I want to talk about what this does and what it eliminates. So, I've talked in previous videos about my micro mini consoles. These are really fun to collect and I love them. I have a Super Nintendo here. I have a little tiny PlayStation. I have a little tiny NES. And I have the most recent one that I got is the little tiny Sega Genesis. I love these things. They're awesome. They're the same concept. They're plug and play. You put it on your TV. You don't have to worry about anything. It has built-in games. If you're awesome hacker dude like me, you can hack it and put your own games on it, or you can just out of the box have a good time. So what this thing does is everything that those do and more. It's got the Pandora box card inside of this, holds 3,000 games, and also has the ability to add more games. So you can update it whenever you want with your own library, but if 3,000 games is not enough for you, you might have issues, because you'll never play 3,000 games in your entire life. Now, a lot of them are repeat games. Some of them are slight variations on the same game. You might have about 15 or 20 different versions of Street Fighter 2. But that's okay. You can find the one that's best for you. And for fighting game enthusiasts, there's nothing better than this. This is just so cool. Now, the stick itself is replaceable. It has micro switches. It's kind of the Semitsu style, which is a Japanese arcade stick, and it's very, very tight, solidly built. These buttons, these are kind of proprietary buttons. They're not exactly like real arcade buttons. They're their own thing, but they feel great. The thing is tiny, it's portable, and it's got, really most importantly of all, it's got this beautiful little thing right here, which is the HDMI out. So you can plug this into your TV and you can enjoy all of your games in beautiful 720p on your enormous TV. Now, what I want to say is, since I've gotten this, it's almost more fun looking through the list than it is actually playing it, because there's so many games in there, games you completely forgot about. Now, what this does is a little differently than other Pandora box type machines and clones, and there are like a million clones, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But this adds home console games to the mix. So it has Super Nintendo games, it has Sega Genesis games, it has NES games, and it also has PlayStation games, and they run perfectly. And that's in addition to the about 2,000 arcade games that it has. So if you have a favorite arcade game from back in the day, 99.9%, it's here. Now, there are variants of this device. The original, it's kind of weird because this is kind of like a hacky type, it's a hacked kind of underground device, really. It's, you know, it's not an official product of any of these companies, but there is this Pandora box. So Pandora box, not Pandora's box. Pandora box is the one that you want to go with. It is very well made. It's good quality. Now inside, this is the latest model. It's called Pandora Box DX, and the DX is a faster chipset. It has a few options that the older models don't have. You can add scan lines. You can save games now, and you can make a favorites list. You can search for games. 3,000 games is a lot. You're going to have to search for the game that you want. Now, one thing that when you're looking for these things, you're going to be tempted to go with an option that's not the quote-unquote official Pandora box one. Why will you be tempted? Because there are so many options, and a lot of them are cheaper. Some of them are, you know, a few bucks cheaper than the Pandora box. And you might say, same thing, save a couple of bucks, no big deal. But be careful. Make sure that you read the games list. So if there's a game on one of these machines that you really want to play, like for example, my aunt, who's a Q*bert maniac, she loves Q*bert. She asked me, what's the best way to play Q*bert? I recommended this device, and she went and got something called a Pandora Games 12. You know, it's very tricky with the wording that they use in these things. So there's like Pandora Games, Pandora Box, Pandora's Box, Pandora Box 3D, Pandora Box 9, 10, 11, 12. I would say from my experience, stick with the regular old Pandora box. I have had the Pandora Box 5, I've had the 4, and now the DX is the latest model. The 6 one, number 6, I would say skip that if you see that as an option. And if you want my recommendation from Johnny Retro, I would say go with the Pandora Box DX. It's just for ease of play. Are there other options if you're an enthusiast and you're really into this stuff and you're really into the scene of retro gaming? Are there other options that are slightly better here and there? Sure there are, of course. And you can also go the route of building your own emulation machine on a PC, on a Raspberry Pi, or anything like that. But for the regular average person who just wants to play classic games, doesn't want a headache, doesn't want to go searching for ROMs, doesn't want to, you know, potentially end up on a weird website that gets a weird virus on your computer, just save yourself a headache. Go to the link in the description and buy this machine. Why do I want you to buy this one? Because this one gives you the full experience. You can play as an arcade machine. You can plug in your own gamepad to the USB ports here if you want to play with a gamepad. You can play multiplayer with your friends, your family, and you can also plug it to the TV if you want to play it on your TV. It's light enough to take with you on a trip. It's small enough to where it doesn't take up a whole lot of space in your house, and it's just got that ease of access with high quality games, a huge list. Come on, 3,000 games. Just think about that. Wrap your mind around that for a second. That's a lot of games. You won't need to buy any of these little micro consoles. I will still buy them because I'm a weirdo and I love the idea of having them. I just think they're really cool collector's items, but you don't need them anymore. With this kind of just knocks them all out of the water. It's an incredible device, and I'm going to show you some gameplay, and I'll talk to you more about what this little bad boy can do. In 3, 2, 1. And here it is in all its glory. This is the Pandora Box DX Mini Arcade, and it is a work of art. Take a look at this screen here. So when you look at the system from the home page, you're going to see that the list starts out at number 1 here, and it jumps ahead about 10 every time you go to the right. You can go down, up and down one by one, and if you go all the way back to the very last page, you see 3,000 built-in games for your pleasure. These games are really, really, really well emulated. That means they play just like you remembered they did. And if you look over here to the right here, I have a Retrobit controller. This is made to mimic and replicate the Sega Genesis 6-button controller. It's my favorite controller for just kind of casual play of fighting games. This and the Sega Saturn controller. So this is an option for you, and not just this one. If you want to use any USB controller, you can just plug it right into the side. I'll plug this one in right now, and there are 2 ports here so that you can have local couch multiplayer, and you see now I'm controlling it with the controller. So it's all about your preference here. If you are an arcade gamer and you're just used to the stick, and look at that, the micro switches are so good on this. And this is fully replaceable, so if you have a Sanwa or Semitsu stick that you would prefer to play with, or any stick really that you have, you can fully replace this. You can just open up the unit, pop it in there. It takes about 5 minutes or less. But this is just, you're going to see a lot of options of little mini arcade units out there, and a lot of them were made to copy or clone the Neo Geo Mini. So Neo Geo Mini was into this mini console craze a couple of years ago, and they made their own little entry into the mix, and their unit is much smaller than this one, and it has 4 buttons, and it does not have a micro switch controller. It has a little tiny nub. Very hard to play. It's more of a novelty than anything else, and it has so many negatives to it that I would never recommend it unless you're a hardcore collector. If somebody gave it to me, I would of course be very happy to take it, but this is better in every single way, and this is really better than anything that's out there in terms of a mini console that's pre-built and has games ready to play. So if you're on the market for one of those classic systems, even if you're in for the new one, the TurboGrafx Mini, which is the newest one, and depending on your region it will be called either the TurboGrafx, the PC Engine, or the Core Graphics. That thing is over $100, and it only plays TurboGrafx games unless you hack it, which means, more headache for you if you're not into that kind of thing. So this is just incredible. Now, if you look here, you'll see that it's a fighting game enthusiast's dream. This system has pretty much any 2D fighting game that you could ever want. It has every 2D Street Fighter, from Street Fighter 1 all the way through Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. It has all of the Versus games leading up to Marvel vs. Capcom. It has, that's just fighting games, King of Fighters, every SNK fighting game ever, pretty much, that was 2D. And if fighting games are not your thing, don't worry, because there are 3,000 games on this thing, and you're going to find something that you love. All of the classics are there, Pac-Man and Donkey Kong and Q*bert 1 through 3, and really anything that was in the arcade back in the 80s is on this machine ready to go. And if for some strange reason you find something that is missing from this list, you can pop it open, and there is a micro SD card that you can find the ROM for the game that you want, and you can update it yourself if you're into that kind of thing. So again, this is just in terms of ease of access and the kind of the experience that it gives you, being, it's a little tiny arcade right on your desk, and it feels just like an arcade. The buttons, of course, are not exactly like the arcade. These are kind of, they're very sensitive, so when you touch them, you don't have to press very hard. They kind of register right away. But I think they feel great, and they kind of look like candy. So I don't know, it makes me hungry looking at them. But it's just very, very easy to play. And you know, if this game right here is World Heroes 2 Jet. Now, I'm going to show you some gameplay in a minute, but I want to show you some of the features. So you can, if you pause the game there, you can do a save state, which means whatever's on screen, it will save it for you. You can also load from that save state or from a previous save state. And of course, you can continue or exit. So I'm going to exit, and I want to show you, before we jump into a game, I want to show you the menu, the options menu here. So this options menu, and this thing also has a built-in speaker that gets pretty loud. And my daughter is sleeping in the other room right now. She's taking a nap, so I don't want to wake her up. But it has this cool little fancy music so that you can feel like a fancy aristocrat as you play your little mini arcade unit. And it goes pretty loud. I'm not going to blast it all the way, but you can also turn it off, and you can run this through your TV through the HDMI, and you can just have the sound go onto your TV. It also has a headphone jack if you want to listen to it through headphones. And look at some of the options here. So you can customize your buttons, the system config. Let's take a look at that for a second. So here we have, you can change the options of the game. So we have free play. You can, limit yourself with credits if you want. It has the pause menu option. You can turn that on or off. Auto exit after 3 minutes. That's if you just leave the game idle for 3 minutes, it will go back to the main menu. You can switch that on or off. It has quality optimization. So a lot of these games are pixelated. They're pixel graphics, and a lot of them look sharp around the edges and a little chunky at times. So this is kind of a smoothing filter that will smooth things out, make it easier on your eyes. But I actually prefer the classic chunky pixelated graphics. Every now and then I'll put that on there just out of curiosity. Scan lines will make it look like an old TV or an arcade CRT, simulated of course. And it has a timer mode, which actually I don't know what that does. Let's see, home game timer only. I have no idea what that is. I haven't tried that yet. Game time 8 minutes. You can limit yourself to the game time, and then control gamepad settings. So you see, there's up to 4 controllers. I don't know how that works actually. There's 2 ports. So one person can use this while you're playing, and the other person can use a controller, or both people can use controllers. And it's just full of awesome options. And it's really great. I'm a guy who loves options, and I also love things to be easy. And so I'm very happy with this thing in both of those respects. So let's see, I'm going to go back to, see if you save setting, it will take you back to, yeah, so this is the main menu back here. Take a look at this. So we have games like, all the Street Fighter games. We have Tekken. Tekkens are actually, when you see there's a 3D symbol next to it, that tells you it's a 3D game. Most of the 3D games are ports of PlayStation games. So it has a PlayStation emulator inside, and it just, most of those 3D ones are just PlayStation games. But again, they play very well. Some of them have little tiny glitches here and there, so you might get a game that doesn't have background music, or maybe it's missing music in the menu. I think Tekken 1 on this one doesn't have menu music. But, it's worth taking the hit because you get such a huge quantity of amazing quality games. And as you see, this is very important here. This is the little screen that lets you see some gameplay before you jump into it. So you can, if you've never seen the game before, you can just scroll through and see like, oh, that's one was a fighting game, nah, not in the mood. Another fighting game, not really interested. And you see they're all grouped together in categories of, so look, I'm in 200 now, and we're still seeing 2D fighting games. So they put a big emphasis on 2D fighting games here. They're all up front, but that doesn't matter because you can make your own favorites list, and you can put exactly the games that you want right at the front of the list for ease of access. Then it goes into just 2D beat 'em ups like Final Fight. Then you get into shooters and puzzle games, you name it. I mean, anything that you used to play back in the 80s and 90s. it's probably on here. And if it's not, you can easily pop it on there with a ROM search. So that's another thing that I want to show you is the search feature. So let me see here. If you press start, it'll take you over to another little mini options screen here. And you can see it has the search option. This will isolate just the 3D games. This will isolate just the 3-player and 4-player games, big multiplayer games, fighting games, action, shooting, sports, and puzzle. And then if you want to search for a specific game, you can just search for it like this. So let's say I want to play one of my favorite games, Goemon. I'll type in G-O-E, and there it is. So let's go to OK. And now over here I have all the games that have Goemon in the title, and I have Goemon 1 and 2 for Super Nintendo. This one was never, 2 was never released in the US. And these are just on here automatically. And if they can play, you know, these are Super Nintendo games that are being emulated on this thing, which means you can add your own if there's something that is missing there. Just the same way that you can hack the little mini consoles, you can, this is not really hacking because this thing is already hacked. But it is just incredible. I love it. And whether you want to play with a controller of USB, it works with a huge variety of USB gamepads. Huge variety. This is the retro bit, as I said, Sega Genesis 6-button controller. Works perfectly. You can map the buttons very quickly to be whatever you want them to be. And or if you just want to stick with the arcade controls, which is always awesome. Now, what I want to show you is, let me show you actually really quickly, just to show you how well this thing plays. Let's go to let's go to Street Fighter. X-Men vs. Street Fighter. It's one of my favorites. I used to have this game on Sega Saturn, and I imported it from Japan, and I had to put like a special RAM cart in the back of the Sega Saturn to play it. And it's a big long story behind that, but it was worth it because it's such a good game. And this plays it just flawlessly. It's an incredible Akuma hidden up there. Incredible game. I love it. I have this on. I've had this on every smartphone I've ever had. This is like a must-have. And this entire series is great. And here's just some, you know, look at the ease of the fireballs and the Tatsumakis and the, just to show where you can. It's so easy to pull off because it's arcade controls. It's, you know, exactly as you remembered it. And, you know, you can pull off your moves very easily. And, you know, if you want to switch over to a gamepad, then what you want to do is you'd have to go back, and then you can configure the controller from the main screen, and then just use that as your main controller. So before we wrap this up, I'm going to show you what this looks like plugging it into the TV. So here we go. 3, 2, 1. And here it is, playing on the TV. So it obviously blows up the image. It keeps it in 720p, which is still pretty high for a retro games device. And it looks awesome. And I'm controlling this now with my USB controller. And you can disable the sound coming from the TV or coming from the unit, doesn't matter, however you want to do it. You know, very easy to do. All of these options that I'm talking about are incredibly easy to do. And it just gives you a nice, you know, you can kind of customize it to the way that you want to play it. So I like playing it this way when I'm at home. Comfortable, you get your, this has a really nice long cord. You can just play on your couch. And of course there are other options with wireless controls. If you get some of Retrobit's wireless controllers, they have a whole series like this that are wireless also. Which I hope to do a review on in the future. And the Sega Saturn one is one that I'm a really big fan of. So you can just pop in the receiver into the unit here on the side where the USB would be, and just play wirelessly. So yeah, this is just, I would say this console is a win-win all around. If you want just a really fun, easy to play console that just has, you know, every game you could probably imagine if you're a retro games fan, this is the one. I would say this is the one that you need. And you know, I would highly recommend a channel if you want to get into the actual scene of retro games. there's a game channel called The Wicked Gamer and Collector, and he reviewed this just a couple of weeks ago. Actually, his review is very, very detailed. What he does is, The Wicked Gamer and Collector, incredible channel. I would highly recommend you to subscribe to it if you're into retro games and this type of device. He gets into the nuts and bolts. He compares the various units. He buys every single retro unit from China, like every single one, and I don't know where he stores them all, but he knows all the details of all of them. And you know, of course, he finds flaws here and there. He found some flaws with this one that just don't matter to me much at all, because you know, I'm willing to make a few sacrifices here and there for the ease of access. And but it's a great channel if you want a more detailed look at what this machine can do. And again, there are different options for buying this. I would just say, depending on where you are in the world, you would have to make the decision that's going to be the easiest and the cheapest in terms of shipping also for you. So AliExpress was the easiest way for me. eBay or Amazon might be easier for you, but I'm going to put a link in the description to AliExpress where I got this, so you can take a look at it. And just be careful, again, when you're buying these things, because there are so many clones out there. Now, as I said before, my aunt is a Q*bert maniac, and she bought a unit that was slightly different, and Q*bert was not in there. And so, you know, for a person who's not, you know, overtly tech savvy, to then go in and try and, you know, search for the ROM file and install it into a, you know, a unit like this, it's tricky, and it's kind of an annoyance that you can avoid if you read the games list beforehand. So whenever they sell these units, just remember they usually have a game list in PDF that you can look at before you buy it. Make sure that the games that you must have are on there if you don't want to go and search for the ROMs yourself and install them. So that is it for this episode. Again, highly recommend this unit. This is without a doubt an overdrive rating for this device. It's awesome, I love it, and I think that anyone who loves retro games needs to do themselves a favor and go ahead and get one for themselves. So, until next time, guys, that's it for Gamers Overdrive Retro Mode. See you next time.